Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Mary Margaret, and today we are going to be talking all things influencing. If you couldn't tell from the title, we're doing a Q&A style video. So if you're not following me already on Instagram, I'll have my username here, but I had posted a Q&A box letting you guys ask any questions that y'all might have. So I'm going to be answering those today. We have a lot of things to get through. Let's just hop right into it. So I kind of wanted to start off with telling my story and my kind of journey getting into influencing. I'll try and keep this brief while also filling you guys in. So I started my Instagram account back in 2016. My boyfriend at the time, had helped me set it up, and he is big into photography and videos, and so I would help him shoot a lot of the time when we were back in high school. And so I originally started my account just to have a space to kind of share those photos and videos that we shot together. I always had the intent of one day turning it into a business or taking it a little bit further, but at the time I was still in high school and I was nowhere near confident enough in myself to like go full force with it and do what I really wanted to do, which really stinks now that I'm thinking about it. If I would have started then, like, it's crazy to think about where I could be now. So if you're in high school, or no matter what stage of life that you're at, if this is something that you're interested in doing, let this be your sign to just start now. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self that it doesn't really matter what people think. People are always gonna have an opinion, so you might as well do what you love. My biggest piece of advice is to just start where you are now. I feel like a lot of people think that they need to have all of these things lined up. They need to have the perfect content ready to go, and really the perfect time to start is now. You only learn by actually doing things, and so it's all a big process and you'll eventually get there. Sorry for that little rant, but I started my account in 2016 and then didn't really take it seriously until March of 2021, which is during COVID times. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here, if this is gonna get flagged. But I feel like during quarantine, a lot of people took advantage of starting businesses or picking up hobbies that they didn't have time to do before. I was home from school, and so I thought this was like kind of the perfect time for me to dive into this and really put all of my focus and effort into it. So in March of 2021, my boyfriend and I shook on it that I was going to take it seriously and just give it a try. So I started off with just shooting content and stuff that I already had in my closet, pieces I already owned, and just tagging the brands to start building up exposure. And since then, I started off doing the first few months of a lot of gifted work, which is totally fine and normal in the beginning. And then as I started gaining more of a following and I felt like my content was getting a lot better, I finally felt that I could start charging for my work. And so I started asking for payments, and then it went from kind of like a little side gig, some extra cash on the side, to kind of a part-time job. And now it is my full-time job, which is so crazy to say. I'm so thankful and grateful. It's literally my dream job, and it's all because of you guys who support and like my content. So thank you to all of you guys for supporting me and allowing me to make this possible. So I feel like that kind of speeds us up to today. I know it can go into a lot more detail, but I have so many questions to get through, and I feel like I'll be able to relate it to my personal experience as we go. Okay, first question says, how did you get confidence to post pictures? I kind of mentioned this before. When I started my account in high school, I was not confident enough to do it, and I wish I could go back and change that. But really, after deciding that this is what I wanted to do, I don't know how to explain it, but I really just had like a mental shift. I'm like a people pleaser, and I care a lot about what people think about me. But when I decided to start doing this, I kind of just had like a mental switch. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna be really mad at myself if I don't at least try. And so, yeah, I just started posting, and it can be really scary at first, but you'll find a community, you'll build online friendships. I've met so many people that I've now met in person and are now like lifelong friends of mine, which is so crazy. So it's definitely a little bit scary in the beginning, but trust me, you can definitely do it, and you can prove yourself wrong if you're doubting yourself. Okay, next question says, how do you reach out to brands to work with them? So I did a lot of this in the beginning, and still sometimes I do now, but you can always just send a brand a DM. In the beginning, I would make these very detailed. I'd like introduce myself and tell them what I do and what I would like to offer. And you can definitely do that. It lets the brand get to know you a little bit more. But now if I reach out over DM, I keep it pretty simple and short. I'm just like, hey, I'd love to work with you guys and create some sponsored content. Let me know if there's an email I can reach out to. Or you can be like, let me know if there are any collaboration opportunities. There's a bunch of different variations of ways to ask, but I think keeping it simple is best. You can also look on websites. Sometimes if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's like an ambassador collab link, and you can click it and fill out a form. And if the brand thinks you're a good fit, then they'll reach out. And then there are also platforms that connect creators with companies. A few that I have used are Aspire IQ and Social Native. Those both have gifting collabs and paid collabs. You can apply to them, or brands can come to you. And those are two really great resources as well. Okay, next question says, which platform is the most sustainable amount of income? So my main platforms that I'm on are Instagram, TikTok, my Amazon storefront, Pinterest, and now YouTube. It really depends on which platform you're putting the most focus into. So for me, my biggest focus is on Instagram. And so most of my income comes from there, whether it be a collab with a brand where I'm required to post on my socials, or that being creating user-generated content, which is when brands come to you, or you can pitch yourself to the brand, and you're basically just creating content for them to use on their end. So they have usage rights, they can use that on their emails, on their website, on their social media. You have no obligation to post, it's just for the brand to get usage out of. Also, my Amazon storefront is pretty up there for me. Again, this just depends on how much you promote it. The more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. There's also the Pinterest Creator Fund. This is a new rewards program that they recently released, and it's still in the early stages, so it's still being released to creators. And they have different goals for each month, and if your pins reach a certain amount of analytics, then you get rewarded for hitting those goals. So that is a very well-paying program. But I would say that Amazon and Instagram, for me personally, are my biggest sources of income right now, along with user-generated content. This question says, what is the one thing you wish you had done differently? And I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I wish I would have started in high school because it would be cool to see where I would be at now. Next question says, what video camera do you use? I guess that's referring to YouTube. For most of my YouTube videos, I just film them on my iPhone. I have the iPhone 13 Pro. All of the iPhone cameras are extremely good to use for YouTube. The quality is amazing and the audio holds up really well as well. But right now, because I am reading questions off my phone, I'm using my fiance's Sony RX, I believe is what it is. I'll link it down below if you guys want to go and check it out. It's just like the classic small vlog camera. It's easy to like throw in your bag when you're on the go. But I don't typically use this, I'm usually using my phone. And for all of my TikToks, Reels, and Instagram pictures, I shoot everything on my iPhone as well. The next question said, how do you have enough clothes to post in the beginning without being broke? LOL. I definitely felt this too. Like I mentioned before, I used a lot of clothes that I already owned in my closet, or I would order stuff from like Forever 21 or Nasty Gal, more affordable websites that I could afford at the time. And again, just utilize a lot of things that you already have. I know to you, it feels like, oh, I've already worn this so many times, like I don't feel like shooting it. But odds are a lot of your followers have never seen you style that piece before. And with a piece like this, like a basic white tank, I could wear this with jean shorts, I could wear this with a skirt, I could wear it with jeans, I could wear it with a midi skirt, you could wear it with a cardigan, you could wear it with a jean jacket. If you have the basics, you can really mix and match a ton of different ways. Next question says, did you post like you were an influencer on your stories and feed when you had a small following? 100% yes. I started off with 1,500 followers. In the beginning, it feels so weird, but I always say, fake it till you make it. If you act like you have a big following, then people are gonna think you have a big following. I don't know how to explain it, but if you are in the mindset like, oh, I'm talking to 10,000 people, then like you will have the confidence in talking to 10,000 people. I would post on my stories all the time. I would do polls, I would do question boxes, and sometimes I would only get like 2 responses in the beginning. Just own it, honestly. Like I did in the beginning, and I know it feels silly, but yes, I definitely did. So next question says, what were big changes you made when you started taking influencing seriously / full-time? So I think one of the biggest changes I made is I stopped taking on some gifted work. I didn't stop completely because I love to help small businesses when I can. I know not everyone has a budget to pay people for sponsored content, but when I first started off, I was doing a lot of gifted work, which is totally fine. But eventually you get to a point to where you want to be paid for your time and your effort. And so I would just stop taking on as many gifted collabs because so much of my time would be consumed with like getting stories, photos, videos for all of these free products that I wasn't being compensated for. And so it was taking up my time from putting effort into things that did have a budget. And so I just kind of limited how many gifted opportunities I took on so that I could prioritize paid work. I think that was a big change. And then also just like constantly doing outreach. Now I'm at a point to where my outreach is a little bit more minimal because most brands are coming to me and pitching partnerships to me. But in the beginning, as I was making that transition, I was reaching out over DMs, over emails every single day, multiple times a day, probably to like 30 brands or 40 brands a week. Some brands say no, some brands don't even respond, and then others you do get a response. And so it's just about being consistent and putting in the work to get those partnerships. Next question says tips for batch shooting content. So if you don't know what batch shooting your content means, it's basically just planning a bunch of different outfits and getting them all done at one time instead of having to go out multiple times to shoot multiple looks. So a lot of me and my friends will like do sunrise and then shoot 4 or 5 looks right after, or once my fiance gets off of work, we'll go to sunset, I'll shoot a bathing suit, a cover up, and then another outfit during golden hour. It's just a lot more practical in terms of getting a lot of content done at once. Next question says, when did you start making money? I had posted a TikTok about how much I made as a content creator in 2021, and I don't think I started making money until I was like 4 months into it. So the first 3 or 4 months were all gifted work, and then I slowly started building up. I think my first paid month of work was like $100, and then the next month it might have been like $400, and it definitely fluctuates. With being a freelance content creator, you don't have a set salary, so it's not like you have a set amount coming in every month. Each month is very different, but it can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. Again, it just depends on how much work you put into pitching yourself to brands. Next question says, after a collab is completed and posted, what happens? Do you share analytics? So this kind of looks different for each brand. If it's paid work, then I typically let the brand know that my content is completed, and I will send hyperlinks to my content that's been posted so that they can go and see it. And then some brands do ask for insights and analytics, some brands do not. And then I typically, if it's a paid collab, I send them an invoice. So on the invoice, you just have like the date, what the deliverables were, the amount, and then how the payment will be processed, whether that's PayPal, direct deposit, or whatever the brand prefers. If the collab went well for both parties, then either sometimes the brand will follow up and be like, hey, we'd love to do another round, or we'd love to set up a long-term partnership, or you can initiate that question as well. Next question says, when you first started, how often did you post on all of your socials? In the beginning, when I was first starting, because I didn't have clothes constantly being sent to me, I was just using what I already had. My goal was to post 3 to 4 times a week. This could be different for everyone. Just because that's what I did, it doesn't mean it's what you guys have to do, but I just felt it's what worked with my schedule and it's something that I could keep up with. Okay, next question says, how often do you get paid from being an Amazon influencer? Is it quarterly, monthly, etc.? So you're paid 2 months after that month is completed. So for August, my payment will, I won't receive that until the end of October. So that's just part of it with like financing. You kind of have to plan. It's like, okay, even though I make this much this month, I'm not gonna receive that payment for 60 days. And that kind of leads me into something else, which I feel like a lot of people might not know about, is net 30. It's something that I wasn't aware of when first starting, but a lot of brands do net 30 payment. So similar thing, except you're paid the following month. So 30 days after your invoice is sent. It's not a big hassle, but it's just something to consider when you're planning out your financials for the month. Next one says how to grow when you feel stuck / not being seen. So I definitely think everyone's growth journey is very different. I follow people who have blown up like 50,000 followers within 2 or 3 months. And then there's other people who have been pretty stagnant with their growth. I feel like this again kind of goes into like you get what you put in. And so when I was first starting out, I was engaging and just like being on the platform, honestly, probably way too much. I would engage with new accounts for probably like an hour or 2 hours every day. I will warn you, be careful with this, because if you do it too much too quickly, your account could get flagged as like a bot or spam. So definitely do it with a grain of salt. But I would find new accounts either by going through the explore page, going on relevant hashtags, or going to accounts that you follow that have a bigger following than you, but you think that your content is pretty similar, and either go through their likes or their followers or their comments and engage with some of those people, because odds are if they like their content and yours are similar, then chances are very high that they'll like yours as well and they could possibly follow your account. I definitely don't recommend doing like the follow for follow or like ever asking anyone to follow you. It just comes off as like insincere. So I would definitely go the organic route. Obviously engage with content that you love. And I also don't recommend doing like engagement groups, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically like either held over DM or like a text message group where it's like however many bloggers or influencers, it could be like 10 people. And everyone's like, okay, you all have to follow everyone, comment on every post, at least 6 words and emojis, like our first 5 photos, like things like that. Anytime that there's rules involved, it's not something that you really want to get involved in. But yeah, definitely just start engaging with new accounts and then also cross-platform promoting your content. So just because you're looking to grow on Instagram doesn't mean that you shouldn't be active on TikTok and Pinterest as well. I've had a ton of people message me and be like, oh, I followed you because I came from your Pinterest. Or if I have a TikTok like go viral or blow up, I notice a big increase in my Instagram followers. And so I definitely recommend kind of like spreading yourself out on multiple platforms because a lot of times they'll all come back to your Instagram. Next question says, how do you organize content production? So like inspo, what you're gonna shoot, selecting where you're gonna post it, stuff like that. So in terms of like platforms, a lot of brands have we have contracts, and so just because I might be required to post something for them, for a brand on Instagram, doesn't mean that I might not also organically post something on my TikTok or my Pinterest. But usually you're only contracted for one platform or multiple pieces of content, but you're always more than welcome to post more than what you're agreed to do. In terms of like organization, for organizing my collabs and like tracking income and stuff, I use Google Sheets. So for organizing my collaborations, I go by month on the left-hand side. And then across the top, I have the brand, the point of contact, so like their email. I have what deliverables I need to do, whether that be an Instagram post, a story try on, a TikTok, etc. And then I have what the payment amount is, deadlines, discount codes, if it's been completed, and if I've been paid. And so that's kind of how I keep track of all of that. And then in terms of like getting inspiration and stuff, I use Pinterest a lot. Or if you have content creators that you look up to, you can always scroll through their feeds. I don't recommend like completely recreating something. It's good to get inspiration from other people, but always try and put your own twist on it, make it unique. You want to be bringing value to your followers. That's why they follow you. They follow you for you and not for someone else. So everyone has something to bring to the table, and I definitely think we should all focus on finding what that is and emphasizing it. Next question, and I think this is really important. It says, do you think you can grow just by sharing life, or does there have to be a niche/value? And there's kind of two parts to this question. One, I definitely think you can grow just by sharing your life. A lot of people just film like days in the life or like vlog style videos on TikTok, and people love it. People are very curious and nosy, and people like to see what other people are doing. So I definitely think there's interest in just showcasing your everyday life, even if you're not traveling the world 24/7. I love watching people's videos where they're like cleaning their kitchen or organizing their closet. Even though it's like little mundane tasks, people still like to see everyday things. So I definitely think you can grow from that. And then the second half of that question, does there have to be a niche? I don't think it's completely necessary to have a niche. I feel like for a lot of times people are like, you have to pick a niche, you have to pick a niche. And I think it's good to have a broad niche. Like I would say my main focus is fashion, but I also like to throw in lifestyle. And if I'm traveling, I'd like to share that as well. And I think if you focus too much on a niche, it kind of puts yourself in a box, and that can limit you from the content you create or the brand deals that you get. And so I think it's good to have an overall vibe or feel for your self brand, but definitely don't limit yourself and get into whatever interests you. Next question says, what happens if a brand sends you something and you don't like it? So thankfully this really hasn't happened to me too much. I think in the beginning, this applied to me a little bit more, but not as much anymore. So in the beginning, like I said, I was doing a lot of gifted work, and when I first started out, I was just saying like yes to almost everything that came my way because it was giving me something to shoot, something to post, giving me practice. And I definitely learned along the way that I don't need to say yes to everything. I only try to take on things that I genuinely love. I don't take on a lot of brand deals that come my way because it's just a product that doesn't relate to me. If it's like workout supplements, like I have a healthy lifestyle and I do hot yoga and I go on walks, but I'm not a gym person, and so for me to promote that just doesn't feel on brand for me personally. So like I would probably turn that down. And then also if it's something crazy with skincare, if it's a product I already use and love, I will of course promote it. Like I've worked with Neutrogena before on makeup wipes, and if it's a brand I really do love, I'll of course take it on. But if it's a new brand, I've never used the product, I won't take it because I never want to falsely promote something, one, that I've never tried, or two, that I don't trust. So just be aware of what you decide to take on because your followers trust you, they value your opinions and your recommendations, and you don't want to break that trust with the community you've built. So if a brand does send you something and you don't end up liking it, you can always send it back. Even if you have a contract, it might be like, oh, we'll send you this and we need you to create a feed post. It can get a little technical, but if you really don't like the product and you don't want to falsely promote something, you can always send it back. It's not like you're taking the product and then you're just never giving them the content you agreed to. You can just let them know that it wasn't a good fit. The next question says, what's the best way to promote your Amazon and Like to Know It? I have some thoughts on these two. So I'll start off with Like to Know It. I don't use this as much, but I know a lot of bloggers utilize Like to Know It a lot, and you can make a full-time income off of it. For me personally, some of the things that I wear aren't always available on Like to Know It. The brands that they carry are limited, and so some stuff I have isn't linkable. So that's one reason that I don't really use it that much. But the second reason is that Like to Know It, you only make commission if someone clicks on your link and they purchase right then and there. And odds are, like if I click on someone's Like to Know It link, if I'm like out running errands but I still want to see like what the brand was or how much it costs, odds are I'm not gonna like whip out my card and buy it right there. I'll like think about it, and then maybe I'll go back to it later that afternoon and maybe just like Google it on my own. Whereas with Amazon, if someone clicks on your link and say you linked a pair of shoes, they click on the link and they're like, oh, these are cute, but I don't think I'm gonna buy them. But I do need a hairbrush. Let me just order a hairbrush real quick on Amazon. You still make commission on that hairbrush because they're initially going through your link. and I'm pretty sure your link sticks with people for like 24 hours maybe. And so if they decide they don't want the shoes, but later that afternoon they're like, okay, maybe I do want the shoes, and they go back, your link is somehow still like embedded on their system and you still make that commission. So Amazon is a lot easier to monetize. And in terms of promoting it, I think I see the biggest difference when I promote my Amazon storefront on TikTok rather than Instagram. Although when I do my Amazon finds on my Instagram stories, I can see how many clicks it gets, and it could get a very high number of clicks, but I think when it comes down to sales conversions, TikTok always performs best for me personally. So this question says, how long did it take you to grow your platform? I talked about this a little bit, but I started in March of 2021. And let me see, I hit 10K on October 19th. And I just hit 50K at the very end of July. So it's been over a year, and I've stayed consistent with it, and it's definitely possible. So never compare your growth to anyone else. Everyone has very different growth journeys. Just focus on yourself and you will definitely see the results. Next question says, how do you edit your vlogs? I just use iMovie. It's super easy, very user-friendly. Yeah, and that's what I use. Okay, next question, I think this is gonna be the last one for today. It says, how to grow on Pinterest. Pinterest is a great platform to be on right now. A lot of creators use it for inspiration, for pose inspo, for home decor, recipes. The ideas and topics on Pinterest are endless, so I feel like anyone with any sort of interest will benefit from using Pinterest. But in terms of like growing, I try and post 4 idea pins every day. I definitely recommend focusing on idea pins rather than a standard pin. Idea pins are just pushed a lot more right now. And I typically try and include like around 3 photos in each idea pin. And then for the description and like the title, I always do like a dump of keywords. So it could be like pose inspo, summer outfit ideas, beach sunset, just whatever applies to the images that you're posting, put those keywords in there. And then there's another section that says tag related topics. And again, insert more keywords, and that's kind of what I do. I try and post every single day, multiple things a day. And yeah, that's kind of how I've been seeing growth on mine. All right, you guys, I think that brings us to the end of today's video. If you found this helpful or beneficial, or if I answered some of your questions, make sure to hit the like button down below and leave a comment if you guys have any other questions on anything that I talked about, or if you think I should make a part 2. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.